You're not inconsistent. You just don't trust yourself. And after everything you've started, then quit. That makes sense. But that's also the problem. Because every time you say, I just need to be more consistent, you're aiming at the wrong thing. Consistency isn't something you force. It's something that shows up when your word actually means something. Right now, it doesn't. Not fully. And you know that. You've had those moments. You get motivated. You set the plan and tell yourself how serious you are this time. This time, it's for real. And for a few days, maybe a week, you're locked in. Then something slips. You tell yourself you'll get back on track tomorrow. You don't. And just like that, you're back where you started. Again. So now you ask, why can't I stay consistent? Why do I always fall off? Nothing's wrong with you. You've just trained yourself not to follow through. And that didn't happen once. It happened hundreds of times. Every time you said you'd do something and didn't. Every time you lowered the standard because it was inconvenient. Each time you negotiated with yourself and lost. That's not a motivation problem. It's a conditioning and programming problem. Your brain is learning something very specific. My plans don't mean anything. So why would it take them seriously? Why would you? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. You don't fail because you lack discipline. You fail because you keep making promises you have no intention of keeping. Not consciously, but structurally. You aim too high, too fast, too perfect. And when reality doesn't match the plan, you collapse the whole thing. Not because you're weak, because the system was built to break. Think about how you approach change. You don't start small. You don't build gradually. You go all in. New routine, new standards, new identity overnight. And it feels good. For a minute. Because intensity feels like progress. But it's not sustainable. So what happens? You burn out, then you disappear, then you come back later, and repeat the same cycle. That's why you can't stay consistent. Not because you're incapable, because you're addicted to starting strong, instead of finishing consistently. There's another layer, and you already feel this one. Every time you fall off, your self-trust drops. Just a little. But it adds up. So now, when you say, I'm going to do this every day, there's a voice in the back of your head that says, no, you're not. You're not necessarily being negative. It's just a memory you're playing over and over again. So now you're stuck in this loop. You want to change. You don't trust yourself to change. So you hesitate. So you underperform, which proves you were right not to trust yourself. And around it goes. If you want to break this, you don't need more motivation. You don't need a better routine. You need to rebuild self-trust. And that starts small, smaller than you think. If you want the shift here, it comes. You stop trying to be consistent at everything, and you become consistent at one thing. One, not 5, and definitely not an entire life overhaul. One standard. Something simple enough that you can't justify skipping it. And here's the rule. You don't negotiate with it. Ever. Not based on mood, not based on energy, not based on circumstances. It gets done because you said it would. And this is where most people mess it up again. They pick something that still feeds their ego. Too big, too impressive, definitely too visible. Don't do that. Pick something almost boring, something repeatable, something you can execute even on your worst day. Because that's where consistency is built, not on your best days, on the days you don't feel like it. Second thing, you stop restarting, No more, I'll start fresh on Monday. No more clean slates. You miss a day? Fine. You continue the next day? No reset? Because every reset reinforces the idea that you need perfect conditions to perform. You don't. You need continuity. Third, you track proof, not outcomes. Proof. Did you do what you said you'd do? Yes or no? That's it. Because consistency isn't about results, it's about identity. You're proving something to yourself, I follow through. And once that becomes real, everything changes. Because when you trust yourself, you don't need motivation. You don't need hype. You don't need to feel ready. You just act. So if you're sitting there wondering why you can't stay consistent, it's not because you're broken. It's because your word has been optional. Up until now. There's something you keep saying you're going to do. Something small, something simple. And you keep skipping it. That's where this starts. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Don't tell me. Don't try to sound impressive. Just be honest with yourself. What's the one thing you're done negotiating with? Name it, because once you decide that your word matters, consistency isn't something you chase, it's something you become. You're not inconsistent, you've just been practicing inconsistency, and you can practice something else, starting now.